Welcome, everybody. This is Starting Out Bright, and I am Noreen Savage, and I am so glad you're here. People ask me all the time how this all got started, and I want to tell you just very briefly who I am and who I'm not for the person who is new tonight. I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating. I have gotten a lot out of the program, but I am not anybody official. Back in May 2019, my friend Lori posted on her Facebook that she had lost 57 pounds with Bright Line Eating. And if anybody was interested, just give her a shout. So I quickly went over to Messenger and I found out that with Bright Line Eating, and if you're new to this, there are 4 bright lines you don't cross. There is a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson. And she talks about these 4 bright lines being no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, and weighed in measured portions. And when I heard that, I thought, absolutely no way. There was no way that I could do that. But I really like my friend Lori. We went out for lunch and we talked some more about it. And I just let that sit from May until just before July. And what really convinced me and became my willingness was pain. For me, I was 270 pounds. I was 5'2". I still am 5'2", but I had the pain in my knee so badly, and my feet were swollen. You know, the backache. Just, the other day I had seen the cane in the corner of our bedroom, and I just realized I was using that at the end. That became my willingness. Now I'm glad for that pain, because without it, I don't know that I would have ever tried anything so drastic as Bright Line Eating, but here I am. And one thing my friend told me was to get into the group as well as to buy the book. And I saw in We Eat Bright with Lines, now there are many other groups, including Starting Out Bright's private group, which today hit 1,000 group members. Isn't that amazing? But we see each other, we give each other hope, the then and now pictures, even just great ideas, and even having fun. How can we have fun? But we do. We have fun losing weight and staying bright. And, you know, we have all these teacher leaders in the group, and it's just amazing. But as the group that I was in progressed, I told myself if I lasted 1 year with Bright Line Eating, I would do what my friend did. I would post on Facebook and I would help anybody I could. That year was up in 2020, and I'm a Christian. I felt God said, Noreen, you can do more than that. Here we are in Zooms. And I felt like I could connect people, those who gave me so much hope with those who were struggling just as I was. So that's how the Zooms began. And each week we have been meeting new people. And you're going to love Krista. Krista and I go way back. And you'll find out how too soon. But please help me welcome Krista Fish Morgan. Krista, how are you tonight?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am so glad you came on. And we've been friends for a while. I won't say where we met yet, but so I told a bit of my story. How did you come into Bright Line Eating? And if you want to go back further, like what even brought you to where you were going in? We talked the other day. And so we talked about a lot of things. Wherever you want to start is good with me.
Okay. Well, growing up, I was kind of heavy. Not looking back now, I wasn't super heavy, but I had developed sooner than my friends and had curves, and my friends did not. And so to me, that meant I was fat. But even before that, I think I had an addiction with food. I remember going into the kitchen or into my mom's secret. We had 8 kids growing up, and so even if it was oranges, we would get 1 orange doled out to us, or whatever goodies that had been purchased. And I remember going in and finding those and sneaking them and eating more than my portion. I was always looking for sugar also, and my mom was big on bulk purchases, and we had freezers, and she would buy chocolate chips in bulk. And I remember going into the freezer and scooping out chocolate chips and mixing them with Cheerios. And I would fill cups and cups of those and sneak them into my bedroom. That was when I was at the young age before I was out doing any purchasing for myself. But I remember when I was 12, I started going to convenience stores and purchasing tons of candy and hiding them in my bedroom. And I would sit in my room and I would eat and I would read. I loved reading. And I have been an introvert since I was little. So for me, it was kind of my solace, my place of comfort, not being out around other people. But then the more I did that, the more truly fat I did get. And the further away from people I also became. And I just had a family reunion with my brothers and sisters and my mom this summer, and my brothers were recalling that when I was older, like in high school, I didn't want to go to the convenience stores as much, but I still had the addiction. And they were talking about remembering me paying them to go and be my errand boys to pick up that candy and bring it back home for me.
So at that point, you were already like a little bit of shame going on, maybe.
Oh, not just a little bit of shame, a lot. I mean, I
Okay.
knew that I shouldn't be eating like that. I was ashamed with how I appeared, even though, like I said, looking back, I probably wasn't, maybe 30 to 40 pounds overweight, but not the morbidly obese that I soon became, you know.
So your
So
crutch was sugar from the start.
my crutch was sugar. But one thing about sugar, I was always drawn to the sugar, but then I always had to follow it up with something salty. And I think that's why it was the chocolate chips and then the Cheerios, or even like saltine crackers, and I would smother butter on them. But it was always the sugar that attracted me first, but then led me to something salty, carby, floury, you know.
So then that just like naturally brings them both in, sugar and flour.
That's right. That's right. So I briefly, I went to college and gained weight. I served a mission for our church in South America in a third world country. I was there for a year and a half. During that time frame, I did not have our fast food. I did not have all the junk that we have here in the United States. I also didn't have a scale or full-size mirrors to see and evaluate myself, and I was busy serving other people. And during that time frame, I lost weight, unbeknownst to me, because I wasn't really looking at myself. But my mom was at the airport waiting for me with a Jenny Craig membership because she knew that she knew that I would be coming home and wanting to get into the best shape that I could be. Totally shocked that I was pretty much in my right size body. I was 175 pounds, and I'm at that time was 6 feet tall. I have shrunk since then. But that didn't last long because I was back in the States with all the fast food, back with my habits. I wasn't walking all day long like I was, and I quickly put on weight. And very quickly, I was up to 200, then 210. And by the time my first daughter was born, I was 220 and never saw 220 again until just this year.
Wow. What
And
an incredible thing to have happened. I
yeah,
mean, just seriously, it's not hard to gain weight when
right.
you're around all the food,
Yeah,
but there's more going on if you're kind of isolating too, as far as being an introvert. And there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with being an introvert, but if you're hiding or sneaking food, that just kind of works against you. So, but you didn't stop in the 200s. You kept going. Maybe that was the birth of your children.
birth of my children. I have 7 children. And I also did daycare in my home. So I was home surrounded by children and helping them. I am very service oriented. And like most moms and women, we put other people first and always put us at the bottom. And it took me a long time to recognize that I needed to put myself first to have the strength and energy to then actually serve my family and serve others to the best that I could. But that really didn't happen until now, and I try to preach to my daughters now to remind them to put themselves first. And I'm hoping that them seeing my new lifestyle, my new attitude towards life, the confidence that I have, I'm hoping that they'll see that and realize that, yeah, we like the new mom better than.
Well, and we didn't talk about any of this stuff that you're just saying, but it
No.
makes me think about something that I thought about years ago, this whole faith-based, if, you're a Christian, I know. And it's like you're thinking the love one another as I have loved you, or, just to love the other person as you would love yourself. Well, how do you love another person? Like when you love your child, you don't want to fill them with junk. You want them to learn good things, good manners, etiquette, conversation. You want them to be able to have those life skills. And so if you treated yourself that way, like giving myself good stuff, that it took me a while to learn that is part of putting yourself first, is loving yourself, loving as yourself as you would love others. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No. And in fact, that's, it's not written in the Bible specifically saying to look that way, but in that golden rule, it is telling us that we have to love ourselves.
Right.
It is kind of a commitment too, to
Exactly.
love ourselves.
And so now this is like a long stretch, but really it's not, because time goes by so fast. And so here you are, you're growing up with some, a little bit of addiction going on. Okay. You're noticing maybe it's called something else at that time, but you want to isolate. Now the weight's creeping up. You've had a moment of a right-sized body after the mission trip. So you know how that feels. And how like you're now gaining weight. You have a family starting. You hit your top weight. Yeah. I imagine you're using some diets by then.
Oh, yeah. At least 20 plus diets.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You would get the prize.
I think my first one was when I was 12 or 13, something called Cambridge Diet, that my mom, seeing my distress, put me on. And I'm sure I consented. It's 3 protein drinks of 110 calories per drink. And that's what, that was my first diet, but didn't stop with that.
No.
And lots of the diets that I did briefly worked. One I did, and I lost 70 pounds in 3 months. But the moment I stopped doing it, I quickly put on all the weight and plus some more, and then got up to my highest.
Yeah, so, what we do to ourselves, right? So what brought you then to Bright Line Eating? Did you just happen to see it? Or?
I think, I were talking about it. No, I had a friend who I had an acquaintance. We both had the same acquaintance, and she told me about our acquaintance and how much weight she had lost. And I asked what she was doing. And she said, it's this new book. It's called Bright Line Eating. And she pretty much just said, it's no sugar, no flour. And I instantly, put it out of my head. Like,
bye-bye.
There's no way I can do it. And that was in 2018. And then at the end of 2018, just like every other year, come December, my goals, my New Year's resolutions are to lose weight, right? And so I was thinking, what's the next diet I'm going to do? What am I going to start January 1st? And I remembered that the name of the book stuck out to me. And so I purchased it and started reading it. And I did not start it on January 1st. I started on January 2nd because I wanted to continue my New Year's celebration and binging on January 1st. Mm-hmm. So January 2nd was when I started my Bright Line Eating. And one thing about my diets, all of them, none of my diets lasted longer than 3 months. I could never maintain the strength, the willpower that I needed to continue past 3 months. And sadly to say, the same thing happened with Bright Line Eating. In fact, my first 100-day chart, I stopped at day 97 and fell off of the plan. We were moving, and moving is a really hard, hectic time. And I failed to plan and got tired, and I drove through a drive-through and got a meal. And for me, that one meal turned into, I don't want to say a continuous binge, but it felt like a continuous binge of eating all the wrong food, all the NMF. I would try to string it back together and couldn't. And it was really difficult. It took a while to get back to it.
I think you said more than a year.
14 months total is what I count from when I fell off the first time to when I have resumed this last time. It was a 14 months in the ditch.
All from going to the drive-through.
All through going to the drive-through. Yep.
For you, that was the way that it started. And so it's a real awareness of that. It's a real awareness, but we also discussed one thing, that in the beginning, you were mentioning that you were treating Bright Line Eating like a diet. So why wouldn't you go off it?
Right. I was treating it like all my other diets. Right. And one thing I think I had told you is that with my diets, I never included other people. I never told my family that I was doing it. They obviously saw and knew I was doing something, and they knew mom was on another diet, or my husband, my wife's on another diet. But I never let them know what my starting weight was. I never let them know what my goal was. I never shared with them my successes or what was hard and difficult. And when I finally started again, May 1st of 2020, I knew I had to change and do it differently. And
so during this time, though, you were still in the Bright Line community.
I was. So when I first started in January of 2019, I found groups on Facebook, and I perused them, and I would try to search and find all the before and, and now pictures. Those would always inspire me. Mm-hmm. But I never really got engaged. I never had a buddy. I never had a mastermind group. I never really commented on people's posts. So nobody really knew who Krista Morgan was within the Bright Line Eating community. And when I did fall off and went through that drive-through, I completely fell away. And then nobody knew I was gone. And then during that time period when I was in the ditch, there were times that I did not look at any of the Bright Line Eating. You know how sometimes with the way they have it set up, if you're not going to a page, you don't get notified as much. You have to search it out. So after a while, those notifications dropped off, and I would have to go and actually find it. So I would know that when I was really trying to get back out of the ditch was when I was searching that out. And I was searching it out one time and saw the unofficial Gideon game information. And that's where Noreen and I met, was for January of 2020. We were on the same unofficial Gideon game, and Noreen, you were the leader of that group. Yep. And I was probably a very difficult person on that Gideon game. I did not interact very much. And well,
you were going through some stuff too.
I had some gum surgery and things, and so my food had to be a little bit different. But I think it was more that I hadn't come in and sat all the way down. I had come in.
But you did join.
I did join. Yes.
You did join. And I think, for someone who is not wanting to interact with people, you made that step. I think it's just so powerful when we take a step forward. We're scared, maybe even. And there was a lot of interaction going on in that group. 10 people. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was all fun. And you weren't the only one that I would sometimes reach out to, like, hey, I think you forgot you're on the team. But, the thing was, though, we began together, we ended together, the whole team stayed together, and we did interact after that. And so that is the cool part about making a connection. For us, it was Gideon Games. And then I had the pleasure of watching you actually go through this metamorphosis after that happened, because it really happened. I don't know. That wasn't really where you took off. I think you took off a little later, right?
I did. So that ended the end of March, I
Yep.
think.
And then COVID began.
COVID began, and I resumed May 1st. I had been sick also, beginning of March, with some bad head cold or something, and it was like 10 days. And I told my husband, COVID had hit. And I told my husband, if I get COVID on top of this, I know I'm going to die. At that point, I was 346 pounds. So I was in the class 3 morbid obese. And I remember just being terrified of getting COVID, and my poor family, the things that I put them through, with the cleanliness and everything to come inside. Yeah, I was pretty
washing the food.
I washed the food, I washed the boxes, washed the mail, stuck the mail in the garage, for a few days, and made them strip their clothes down, and was grateful that nobody was going out of the house to work. They were all working in the house. So, yeah, but that's
But now again, something gave you the willingness.
Right. It gave me the willingness. And, now, so it's been 15 and a half months, and I've had bright days ever since. Today is my resume day 476. And people that I have met during these past 476 days look at me and they think that I'm a crystal vaser, that I haven't had any struggles. But I was in the ditch for those 14 months trying, and sometimes with one foot in and one foot out. But for me, I celebrate still January 2nd of 2019. The weight I had lost, I regained. So all of my weight loss has happened since May of 2020. But January 2nd is when I count as having started Bright Line Eating, because my experience of doing it and then going through that drive-through is what keeps me strong now, because I know what happened to me with having one meal, one bite off plan. And I don't want that to happen again. And I see the NMF that I have in my home with my family, or when we go on trips, the NMF that I'm surrounded by. And I actually can feel, as I look at it, the sensation of me eating it and the binge that would follow afterwards. And so keeping that as a visual, my past experience, and then what could happen if I, made that choice, is always fresh and with me. And it's not worth for me to go back. And even with my past diet experiences, I did the one for 3 months and lost 70 pounds and then regained everything and plus some. So I know what my habits are by eating that kind of food. And at my family reunion, my family was like, do you think that you'll ever eat sugar and flour? And it's like, I don't know. All I can say is right now, I'm not going to. And my mom chirped in and she's like, oh, I hope you don't ever go back. I hope you don't ever eat that way again, because I love seeing your changes and your confidence and just everything else that has changed. So,
well, that is amazing. And I want to get to that at some point about all your non-scale victories. But I want to dive a little bit more into this resume, your true resume, as you called it the other day, your true resume beginning in May. It wasn't, it was a mind shift and it was fear based, but you did specific things. What did you do to finally make the switch? What did you actually literally do?
So for me, one of the number one things was surrender. I had to do the plan exactly as written and not try to reevaluate it or think that I was a special cause or for some reason it needed to be different for me. I had to surrender with the knowledge and even with the hope and the faith that this plan would work for me and that it was the right plan. The other one is support or community, was getting back into those Facebook groups and even finding a few more. I found one that was doing a 2-week challenge, and each person put in $12.50, and you were paired up with somebody else. And when you were paired up, it was your bright lines and their bright lines that counted. So if I broke a line, it would knock my partner out as well as me, and we would lose our $12.50, which wasn't much, but it was just a short 2-week time period. And in this challenge, I was paired up with a lady, her name's Roxy from Nevada, and we just hit it off, and we are still buddies to this day. It was June of 2020, and to this day, every day we still reach out and support each other and help each other. And at the end of the 2 weeks, you could re-sign up if you wanted to. And Roxy and I would say, hey, are you game? I'm like, yeah, I'm game. So we just kept doing that and doing that. So that was one thing that kept me going. Another thing was going onto YouTube and finding Susan's vlogs. And my goal was to watch or read something every day, Brightline Eating related. Kind of like my scriptures, and reading those every day, it fortifies me in my faith and gives me strength throughout my day. The same thing with Brightline Eating. It just, I am in and sitting down. I am staying close to the mothership and getting that reinforcement every day and hearing the positivity and the results and the science, whatever the vlog is that Susan happens to be recording. And
I just want to ask you right now, is there any particular vlog that you really see that stands out for you?
well, for me, when I am listening to those vlogs, it's more of gathering tools that will help me more than the science-based things. So the two, interestingly, that always pop to my head. Number one, it's the dreaming about food. And I think one of the reasons why that one sticks out so much is because I see on so many of the Facebook groups, people horrified because they had a dream about eating NMF. And then maybe even lying about it to their Gideon Game group or to their, they wake up in a panic because they've had this NMF. So that one was great because that one is, those dreams happen so much. And so having that knowledge from her vlog, anytime I see that, I go in and I share that vlog with people. So it was from February of 2019. I wrote it down. Eating Dreams is what it's called. February 13th of 2019.
Interesting. And just last night was the first time that I can remember that I had a dream like that. And it was a sandwich.
Wow.
It wasn't like
you need to go listen to this vlog, and it will give you
I do.
a lot of hope.
Okay. So
and the second one was from January of this year, and it was just when to start exercising. And I think for me, that one popped out because I had lost over 100 pounds by that point and was kind of wondering, okay, now what? When is this? And so when she did that vlog, it really stood out to me.
Now there is a question here, and since you just mentioned that you meditate or you use the Bible, do you have a favorite verse?
I don't necessarily have a favorite verse. I use it all, and I sit. In fact, I have it on an app, and it just fortifies me just through reading it. Today, my daughter had to run in somewhere, and I took that moment to just sit and read. I am finding with Brightline Eating that I don't waste my time as much. I am much more
like efficient, or
I am just doing more. I am reading more books. I am reading my scriptures more. I am getting involved. I am able to pack more into my day now than I used to be able to. And I think it's because I'm not in a food coma. I'm not sitting on the couch watching a movie, eating my ice cream, sorry, NMF. I'm able, and I have the energy. I'm not hurting. I mean, when I was at my heaviest, I couldn't even get off the couch. You
Right.
know, sometimes my kids would have to pull me up, and to walk up the stairs, I had to take 2 steps for every stair to get up the stairs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even very far into my journey. I came running down the stairs one day, and my daughter was like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, why are you running down the stairs?" I'm like, "Because I can." So,
I also
yeah.
want to mention too, I actually did a little investigating on that two-person challenge, the 14
Uh-huh.
days. Connie Call
Right.
Lancaster, and I chatted with her today. She's
Oh,
not
you
doing
did?
it right now, but we talked about it. Like, who knows what the future will hold? But I thought that was an outstanding idea that you actually would
Yeah.
lose the
So
other
there are,
person. I mean, talk about
right.
motivation.
There
It's one thing to lose your own, right?
Yeah, there are other groups. Like now there's one that you can do, and you can sign up for $50
Yeah.
and you break your lines, you know. So there's a whole bunch of different variations,
Yes.
little competitions and unofficial Gideon games,
So
you
on
know,
this
and
on this time down, because you've now lost how much?
as of this morning, because I've been on a plateau, and so I refused to weigh for a little while. But as of this morning, I've lost 159.2 pounds. So
That
I weighed
is
in.
so amazing.
Thanks.
Wow.
I
But you
I
just
still
said a
have
word
like,
here that I'd like to chat about is plateau.
uh-huh.
That is the word of the week, plateau.
Yeah.
What do you do to get out of a plateau? I've been through a few myself, but I'll let you go first.
Well, you know, for me, I've noticed as I look back on my charts that every so often I do have a 3-week plateau. And so I have a tendency not to stress for those 3 weeks because I know that it's kind of my, you know, my routine. But gosh, my old dieter self would totally stress. And why is it that when we hit plateaus, we would say, forget this and go eat some junk? I mean, how's that going to help? It's definitely
Right.
not going to make the scale move down. It's going to make it move up. So, um, but this last one was very frustrating because it was like a whole month or longer. I spent almost 2 months close to the same weight. So I tried some different things. One is, and I haven't adhered to this completely. Susan Pierce Thompson says, if you really want to lose weight, you will keep nut butter and nuts out of your diet, completely out of your diet, 100% during the weight loss phase. When I see that and I read it, I realize I eat a lot, and I have. And sometimes my mentality is, well, I've been losing weight. It's okay. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I have found I will have nuts or nut butter as my protein for 2 meals. And I would probably say maybe 10 meals out of the whole week, I will have nuts or nut butter. But obviously, especially now as I'm getting closer to my goal body, the nut butter is probably interfering. So I limited it to 2 servings a week for my protein. Another thing is getting a lot of water in.
Right.
So I think that's really important. And then making choices of not having the heavy vegetables or the fatty meats, doing leaner things. Those are things that I've done. Now I haven't been on the scale for 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm not sure when it budged, if it just happened to budge this week or what, but I decided that I didn't want to see it and keep seeing the
One thing
plateau.
that's helped me too is getting serious about sleep because I
Yes.
can be a night owl and I'm not going to lose weight when
Yeah.
I'm not getting adequate amount of sleep. So the water, the sleep, I'm agreeing with all the things, and I don't want to give up the nut or nut butter. I keep getting a phone call, and so it's.
And I just I'm almost finished rereading the book, and I it's only my second time reading it, but I'm rereading it, and I just read a couple days ago about the plateau, and so she has some great suggestions in the book if people haven't and are going through a plateau, as far as what to cut out, do 3/4 of an ounce of stuff, or have vegetables for breakfast instead of fruit. So there's a lot of little tweaks that you can do.
Mm-hmm. So one other thing that we talked about the other day that you did, and it's something I have in my back pocket, but you did it, was boot camp. But you didn't do it when you started the first time around. This time you did it. And now I think this is interesting because for many people, and I think I can be included in that group, I'm assuming this, and that can be bad, but sometimes you think, well, I've been in the groups, I've been doing this for 2 years. I don't know that I'd get anything out of boot camp. What did you get out of boot camp when you'd already been doing Bright Line Eating for a while? You were coming into it later, not from the very beginning.
Right. So I initially signed up for boot camp because we were entering the holiday season, and I knew that I had never, ever been through a holiday season before without eating off plan of whatever diet I was. And usually by October, I wasn't on a current diet because January was long gone.
Right.
And I wanted to enjoy the holidays. So I knew that my identity was changing, and I wanted my identity to change, and I wanted it to be a lifestyle. So to keep it a lifestyle, I decided I needed to sign up for boot camp to make sure that I could carry through the holidays and keep my lines bright. I signed up. And so when you sign up for boot camp, they put you into a house, a Facebook house, where you're with a large group of other people who are doing boot camp at the same time. And then you have the modules each week that you get to listen to. So for me, I know a lot of people start boot camp right when they start Bright Line Eating, so they haven't found all those Facebook groups yet.
Right.
So for them, the house is really important because that's where they're finding a buddy, and that's where they're finding their mastermind groups. And I had already had those in place before my my boot camp, but I still met some wonderful people. I wasn't as interactive in the house as I should have been. I would have met a lot more, but like I said, I had all these other groups and things I was participating in. But I loved meeting people, still meeting people. Those groups, even though it was like last October, that house is still going and people still comment. And so there's that support system. But for me, what it was great was the modules. Like I said before, when I was starting, I listened to something Bright Line Eating every single day, one of Susan's vlogs. And then once you started doing these, I started listening to these just for the motivation and keep me going. So the modules were great because I added that to my repertoire of videos to listen to, whether I was doing dishes or laundry or whatever I was doing. And I didn't go back through them. I was going to look. That's one thing, that once you do boot camp, you have access to all the modules for life.
That's awesome.
You can go back and go through them. And I was going to do that before this because there was one that she said, and she was saying that this would bring you hope for losing weight. And I remember listening to that and I sobbed, and I reached out to my buddy and I texted her and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly how I feel. This is the first time I've had hope that I'm going to truly get into a right size body.
Wow.
And so boot camp was great for me. And then another thing is boot camp is the gateway to Bright Lifers. And the wealth of information that is in Bright Lifers with all the coaching calls that are there. I know that some people don't get as much out of the coaching calls, but once again, I listen to a coaching call every single day, and there are tons of them. And they're recorded, so you can go back for years and listen to past ones if you've run out of new ones to listen to. But they do accountability calls and coaching calls and maintenance calls, and sometimes the coaches will spend the whole 30, 40 minutes with that one person and their question. And so it's just a
Wow.
wonderful resource if somebody is struggling. Sometimes people just call to say a celebration or a gratitude. And so that lifts me up too, is just listening to those gratitudes and to hear their story. And then when people are struggling, the people who are listening, they get a support system. People are messaging them or texting them and giving them that support because they're aware that they're there, that they're part of the community and that they're needing help.
So that's amazing, and this is something that I had not really thought about because I have not done boot camp yet. But when you're really talking about like a daily influx of hope, really, and education of finding out more. And are these calls, are they categorized so that you could find, what you're
They're not
looking for?
categorized.
Okay.
No, and I am starting to do that myself as I listen to things.
Mm-hmm.
I will write down, and I've been like stopping and taking a picture of that date and that time, and so that I can go back in and write it down. Because like right now I'm starting in with the exercise, and so people are saying, how do you feel for your exercise? So I want to make sure I have those things. Or when a plateau hits, there's tons of information about when a plateau hits, So yeah.
I'm seeing in the chat, Barb saying, I call boot camp an immersion experience. It was so good.
And I know people are concerned about the cost, but like for me, when I started Bright Line Eating, I had a whole cabinet full of diet protein drinks, that I had signed up for a program, and every month I got these delivered. And so how many hundreds of thousands of dollars have we spent, on diet plans? And with the scholarships that are available and the discount, it is doable. And for me, it's worth the investment to stay grounded and to stay part of the community.
To keep your recovery going.
Keep my recovery. Because it is a recovery. And, I didn't really stop to think of it as an addiction until I was reading her book and going through the process and realizing, this is an addiction that I have. And that was, like I said, I had to have my family involved. Just like having my family involved, I think I had to tell myself, yes, this was an addiction, and that I can't eat the way other people do. My mom is super thin and very active and in shape, and she keeps a basket of little NMFs in her room, and she will have one or two a day. If that same thing was in my room, that whole basket would be gone, So yeah. I just learned. Yeah,
I was always amazed by people who could have a dish on their desk. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, that's not me.
Yeah. Another question I have here is, how do you know your goal weight? Did you figure that out on your own, or did you have some help?
That's a good question, because I'm kind of there right now of trying to figure out. So I mentioned that I lived in South America, and when I came home from South America, I weighed 175. That is the only time for a month that I remember having kind of a right size body. So 175, actually my goal is 173, because that will mean I have lost half of me. So
that's what I'm going for too. I'm, instead of 270, I'm going for 135. 136 puts me in normal range. So
yeah. So and see, 176 puts me in normal range. So 173 gives me a 50% weight loss. But I see so many people saying that they do the French formula. For me, the French formula, I would be down to 155. I can't wrap my brain around that, because I probably did not weigh that since middle school. So for right now, I am going to set my goal for the 173. And once I'm there, I will see what happens. But when I was through my plateau the past 2 months, I talked to myself, because I hear it a lot in Bright Line Eating. If nothing else changes, if you never lose another ounce, will you change what you're doing? And the answer is no, because I don't want to. If I was to stop doing Bright Line Eating, I know I would be putting my weight up, and I could live happy, thin, and free in the body that I'm in right now. So, but I know it's not my goal body, but I could be happy here.
And you said that through this plateau, you had something happen to you. You told me a little story of you were in the park, I believe, and yet you were at a plateau and you met a woman.
Oh, yeah, the hike. Just a second, really
Yeah.
quick. I saw Deb saying, Deb, I see I have shrunk. She said it's great for 6 feet tall. Yeah, it would be great for 6 feet, but I'm 5'10" and a half now. So I have shrunk. So one thing that I love about my new body is that I'm much more active. And I have a son who's very quiet and kind of an introvert like his mother, but he doesn't even talk much with his mother. And he had voiced his desire to go hiking this summer. And I realized that we hadn't done that yet. And so I said to him at the beginning of the week, I said, let's find a day that we can go hiking. So we went to this gorgeous spot here in Oregon, and it's about 40 minutes from our home, and we hiked, filled with miles of trails and waterfalls. There's 10 waterfalls, and there's one you can walk behind. And the main hike is down first. So we were hiking down, and we were kind of on a time frame. So we decided, okay, we'll walk for an hour and then we'll turn around and we'll reverse it, because we didn't know how long it was going to take us to do the whole loop. So we reversed it. And so coming back, of course, since we were going down, now we were going up. And as we got close to the top, we passed a woman on a bench, and she had walking sticks, and she was extremely overweight. Her face was beet red. You could see just an expression of pain, frustration. There were tears in her eyes. She was probably waiting for her party. She's probably said, I'm going to stop here and wait while you guys go down, and then we'll keep going on. And I smiled at her and said hi. I wish I could have wrapped my arms around her, but she would have probably, with a stranger. But as we walked past her and we were out of sight and out of ear distance, I turned to my son and I started crying. And I said, that was me. That used to be me. Because I wouldn't have been able to have done that hike. And I have tried those things before. And I have sat on the bench and waited for my family. I have missed out on trick-or-treating with my youngest daughter for 6 years because I couldn't walk around the neighborhood. So, and that's one thing that keeps me going now too. She's 13. So all's not lost. And she's turned into my little exercise walking buddy. So.
Yeah. And I'm sure she's one of your big supporters too.
She is, although it was kind of embarrassing. I'm in charge of the youth group at church, and we were there just this week, and she kept looking at me and she's like, Mom, you look so good. And then she'd say, Mom, you're so skinny. And it's like, I just keep saying, thank you. But I'm like, okay, what are the other people thinking with my daughter, keep saying to me, Mom,
but it's amazing, Krista. It's just
I think
amazing.
They're shocked as well. My family is shocked and proud.
There was a picture that you gave me to share with the slideshow, and it's a picture of you with your son then and now. He doesn't look that much older. And I'm thinking, look at what you've been able to do in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, you've taken years off. I think that you've given years back to yourself. And there will be a day that they don't even remember the old you at all.
I have to say, it's super exciting. Doing Bright Line Eating has not been easy. I've had lots of challenges. I would think I was telling you, my husband he has diabetes, and he has a foot condition that causes your arch and your bones to collapse and grow on, it's called charcot foot. And he was in a boot for almost a year and then had to have surgery and was completely immobile, couldn't put any weight on it for 3 or 4 months. Wow. And then as soon as he could put weight on it, so they put a 12-inch plate in his foot, not 12-inch, a huge plate, and 12 screws in his foot to hold it in. So I've had a lot of challenges. He hasn't been able to like help during that time frame. And then as soon as he could walk on it, he broke his foot again.
Oh, no.
Bones are fragile. In fact, he has to have a procedure tomorrow on the foot. I had a daughter get married that I planned everything and had to prep we prepped a dessert bar. But the exciting thing is my daughter got married last September, and I weighed 280 pounds at her wedding. I had lost 66 pounds, and I felt so great. And it's kind of funny looking back now and thinking how great I felt at 280 pounds, but, you know, having lost 66. But then I have another daughter who's getting married in 2 weeks, and I am almost 100 pounds lighter than at last year's wedding.
That's
so
just amazing.
I'm at 187 now. So I'm super excited to feel even better at her wedding.
So those have got to be some of the big non-scale victories. Well, they are scale victories, but what else do you have that you want to share as far as?
Well, sharing back with my youngest daughter and not being able to do things with her, one of my biggest non-scale victories is when my daughter announced she was getting married, and it's a very short time span and she lives in a different state. So my 13-year-old and I jumped in a car and drove 13 hours to go wedding dress shopping with her. But on the way, we stopped at a water park that my daughter has only been to once and wanted to go to again. And I put on a bathing suit and I went down the slides with her. And it was such a huge accomplishment because I probably have not been on a water slide at a water park since I was a kid, you know.
Just amazing.
It is amazing. I do have to say that at the top of one of them, they make you get on a scale to see how much you weigh, because they had to have certain placements on this specific ride. And even though I saw the sign of what the scale, the weight was, and I knew I was under it, my old feelings were creeping up. And the fact that somebody had to look at the scale and see what I actually was weighing, you know, and I had to keep talking to myself, it's fine, you're totally fine, you know, you're under the weight.
Do you think you have body dysmorphia? Somebody asked, do you feel or do you see yourself as skinny?
You know, I do see myself as skinny. I've had 7 kids, and actually I don't want to say I see myself skinny. I see myself as healthy because my sister and my mom are both really skinny, and they're super fit and they've got a more natural skinny bone, but I am content with my body. And I thought one of the things that kept me from losing weight was the fear of what my skin and body would look like as the fat was going out. And I honestly told that to my husband one time. I said, I don't want to lose weight because I don't know what my body will look like. And it was worrying me. And I joined some plastic surgery groups. And so they show, you know, explicit pictures, and I'm seeing people's bodies. And so I actually, having had 7 kids and having lost 160 pounds, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with what my loose skin situation is. So
that's great.
Yeah. So I have, it's not pretty, but like Susan says, clothes will cover that up.
I love that attitude.
My arms were bad. In one of the slideshows I had with a picture with me with a white shirt, and that's where a lot of my weight went, was to my arms. And as I'm losing it, I've got a lot of loose skin. And just 2 weeks ago, I started an exercise class, and my kids have never seen me in a tank top before. And I've started wearing a tank top to these exercise classes, and I don't care that my wings are flapping and I may take off in the class. My arms keep going too much, but it's,
your wings may be flapping, but you're able to fly down the stairs now.
I am able to fly, and I'm able to fly in the class. I'm doing great. I'm feeling strong.
Yes. So. The time is ticking away here, Krista, and I want to give you the opportunity there may be somebody here tonight who is just contemplating starting Bright Line Eating, or maybe they've been in the ditch for 14 months. You really have a tale of two stories, you know, because you went through it, but you say you're glad that, you know, you kind of glad you went through it, because now it's like really made this strong for you. What would you say to someone tonight who wants to give it another go, or just start out right from the beginning?
Well, it's just do it. Open up that book and follow it. Don't try to do it without reading the book, because you need to know the whys. And I know we talked about it a little bit. One of my whys was the addiction. And I have a loved one who has their own addiction. And I was helping him through a lot of his appointments and struggles because of his addiction that he has. And I remember after leaving an appointment one time, he looked at me and told me that there was no hope for me in my weight, that it was my addiction. And he hasn't seen me yet with my weight loss, but I'm super excited to show him. But for those who really want it, surrender to the plan and find support, and then keep showing up. I had 14 months that I was mostly in the ditch. And if I, like you said, I did sign up for that unofficial Gideon game. If I hadn't, I would have probably stayed in the ditch even longer. Just keep showing up and get that support, and get started and surrender, and realize that there is hope. There definitely is not hope if you don't do it. Right.
That's so true. Well, Krista, how amazing are you? Oh. You are hope, as someone wrote. You are hope. Seeing what you've gone through and picking yourself up, getting the resources you need for you personally, and always remembering, taking a little sliver of that past and remembering it, so you don't get too cocky about life, you know? And I love the answer you gave to someone that said, you know, asked if you'd ever eat those things. Like, you don't know, but today I'm bright. Today I'm bright, and you are a bright star. There are many thank yous in the chat, and I want to thank you so much. Any last word?
I just want people to know that there's a lot of support out there. And if you are on a Facebook group and you resonate with somebody who is posting posts that are inspiring to you, that you feel that you really admire their program, and you are struggling, don't hesitate to reach out to that person privately and see if they'd be willing to help you, to sponsor you, to give you some input, some guidance. That's what we're here for, is to help and support each other. I have never felt such a more supporting, loving community. And everyone within the community wants success and right-sized body for each other. So I reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. And if you can't do it openly, do it privately through Facebook Messenger.
Yes, I totally agree. I see Barb says yes, agree. And reach out to someone you resonate with. And that's can be the start of a great relationship. So tonight, I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you so much. Thanks you again, Krista, for being here and sharing your story. And I'm going to close as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for having me.
So, Krista, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
Woohoo!
Yes,
down, right?
3-Question Thursday. So, I want to know about Marco Polo. Marco Polo. I heard that you use that.
I do.
How did you find Marco Polo?
Okay, so I first found Marco Polo from my mom. She created a group with her and my 2 other sisters and myself. And she was all excited and sent the first video. And I sent a text back and said, "Great for you. You won't catch me on there. I will not be," and I was angry. And I did not like seeing myself at that point. This is before Bright Line Eating. And I never was. I would listen to my mom and I would listen to my sisters, but I would never, ever, ever record anything. And Bright Line Eating, with the different groups that I've been in and the different support, it has pulled that out of me. I am now a Marco Polo user, and I use it every single day, numerous times, with my different support people.
And for those who are new, it's an app, right? That you
Yes.
do it, you record a short video, and then you kind of, by the magic of electronics, they see your video.
It's like a video text. You know, you don't have to sit and communicate with the person. It's just when you have time and have a moment, you click on it and you video yourself talking to that person. If you want, you can flip your phone and have it be something else and just hear your voice. You can actually even put a picture up if there's something you want to share, like a food item that you've made for dinner. And so it will just show the picture and then you can hear the voice talking behind it.
Great.
So.
That's great. Question number 2. I saw a picture of 2 jars of marbles. What are those all about?
So that is, as you can see too from my other pictures, I'm a kind of a tracker. I like to track things. I'm a visual and a numbers person. So in my kitchen window, my other trackers are up in my bedroom. So I figured I had so much time in the kitchen, I needed something down there. So in my kitchen window, I have 2 jars, and one has the pounds that I've lost, and one's is the pounds that I still need to lose to get to my 173 goal. So.
Wow, that's great. Now, question number 3. This is for all the money, all the points,
Okay. All right.
all the marbles.
If I can get it right.
Okay, I want you to picture that you are Krista on January 2nd, that first day you were starting.
Okay.
The very first time.
Okay.
If you could, what would you say to her about this day today? Like, you've lost all this weight. What would you say to her?
I would tell her, thank you for having the courage to try yet again another diet and put that faith into another plan. And that it worked, and that it wouldn't be easy, and it wasn't easy. But I would thank her for giving it a try, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am. I don't think that there's another plan out there that would have gotten me to where I am.
And where you are now is a superstar. You were a superstar then, but you are a super duper bright star. So bright, so bright. Krista, thank you so much for being on Starting Out Bright. I'm so glad our paths crossed with Gideon Games and now again today. And I look forward to seeing you in the groups, and who knows, maybe in person someday. So good night. And thank you. And thank you for playing 3-question Thursday, taking one for the team. Good night, everybody. Stay bright.
Thanks, Noreen.